Good morning, everyone. Hello. Welcome to today's daily. What we've made today, this morning, is this Rift environment. So we have this kind of large space with these kind of jagged cliffs. Kind of got this sandy desert environment here. And this is all running in Blender, by the way. If you're, you can hit Shift tilde in order to walk around in Blender. Just check your preferences if it's behaving differently. But yeah, so there's like this big crack in the ground, and then we've got this big canyon wall, which I think looks really good. I think the rubble looks good, maybe a little too noisy, but overall I'm really enjoying it. I think with some nice materials, we could really increase the quality and fidelity of this environment pretty quickly. If we had like a little sandy texture here. But I'm loving this. I think it looks great. And let's get into how I made it. Just a reminder for anyone new here, this is available for free on Gumroad if you'd like to download and see how I put it together. So as you'll notice, we have these little pieces up here. So the general idea with my setup is we've got a few collections over here. So we have the lighting. Reference doesn't have anything in it, or actually has this little person-sized cube. and then we've got the terrain, which are two objects: the ground right here, this ground object, and then this rim object. And internally they're quite simple, just this kind of ring, and the ground's pretty much the same, just a subdivided plane that I sculpted down. I will have a time lapse available for this one as well if you want to see the process of it. It's hard for me to kind of talk and work at the same time, so I don't think I'll do like a recording explanation while I do a time lapse, but hopefully you'll find that helpful. But yeah, so we have those two simple objects. We have these stamps here, and these are all the things that make up our environment. So a lot of this is just reusing kind of the same asset, but let's get into what this actually looks like. So I'm going to switch over to GeoNodes. We're going to select the rocks here on the ground. I'm going to make sure the outline's on so you can see what I'm grabbing. So these rocks here, this exists in my scatter collection here. So we have the terrain, those two objects, and then scatter. These are each kind of the scatter passes, and I like them as separate objects. Makes it easier to turn things on and off. So we have these ground twisted rocks here. We've got these rim twisted rocks, and then rim rock wall, which is more of these like square shapes, which I really do actually like how those came out. So I might do something like that again. Excuse me. And then we also have a few. Oh wait, and then these collections here are the actual stamps. So if I just look up here, you can see pieces. Boom, boom, boom. 3 pieces for twisted rocks, 1 piece for the canyon wall, 2 or 3 pieces for the ground. There's like 2 very simple looking objects in here. And these ones, I might go back and redo those, but for now I'm not super worried. Okay, let's actually get into the graph. So clicking the graph, a lot of these are just variations of the same graph, so I'll get rid of what's not being used. But the general idea is we take the geometry, which is getting joined in through this other node right here. So this is just a join object. That way, it's very similar to an instance duplicate, but a little more flexible, because then you're not worried about linking the data. It just takes whatever's latest, places it there. So we sample the ground object, and then we do the actual instance scene. So the first thing we do is just use this distribute and shrink wrap instances, which pretty much gives us the whole look right then and there. I'm going to turn off outlining so we can zoom in a little bit. So yeah, this node with a one vertex group selection, which is the rift. This is what we're using to mask out here. So if I go back to the original ground object, go to weight paint, enable overlay, you can see we have this vertex group for that. Pretty simple. And And that's what we're using to mask out the rocks from spawning in there. And I actually didn't mind them spawning in there. There were some really cool like connections between them, but it's chaotic and kind of unintentional. So I just don't want to get too lost in the sauce following that. I'd rather do what I intended to do, which is scatter this terrain up top. Now what's cool about this, what I really like about my stamping method here is that I really feel that a lot of times people would just use either just instancing or just displacement. But I find instancing, realizing those instancing and shrink wrap and then offsetting them, that gives me so much more flexibility. And if we like increase the density, let's say 5 times, we actually start getting much more kind of cohesive terrain. I think this almost looks like just some sort of material, or if we go even further, we just do 1 and we get this full rocky terrain. I think that looks great. It gives us so much variety. Not entirely sure how that would work when it comes to colliders. Like we might have to, if I was bringing this into Unity or something, we might have to break that up even further in order to just ensure it's not getting too complicated with the colliders. Because if it's just sampling that mesh directly, it's just a bunch of unconnected mesh islands. Anyway, that's a tangent. So the main effect that we've added after instancing, so we can see we have our instances here, but they look kind of sharp. So the first thing we do is actually sample the mesh normal of the ground. So if I switch over to solid view, this is a bit more pronounced. So we have before and after right here. And you can see that it's blending very nicely with the terrain. And I love this effect. I feel like it's kind of what's been missing in my own work for a long time. Like, oh, how do you make meshes look good together? And a big part of that is blending the mesh normals. We can even ramp that effect up, make the distance a little bit further. I think that's good for now. So that's the first post-process step. And the second is we actually just mix some vertex colors. So if I go here, so before we're just blending the normals. And now we're also sampling that same geometry and blending the vertex colors. And my shader is just displaying the vertex colors, the material. And that's pretty much it. We're doing kind of the same thing for these rocks here. So again, we're going to kind of ignore the duplicate stuff here. But we have the original geometry. We go ahead and distribute these rocks on them. They look good. And then we are setting the mesh normal here, getting it nice and blurred. If I go to here to here, that looks even better. The one thing we're missing here is actually the mixed color. And because I've done this kind of similar operation so many times, I know that the next time I'm going to do this, I'm going to simplify it into one node. Blend a node to blend the normals and a node to blend the vertex colors, all one with just some parameters to tweak it as needed, because I just ended up doing the same exact operation like 4 times. And at some point you got to realize I'm wasting time. But I think it looks good. I think a little blend of the vertex colors would look even better, where we'd get some really soft fall off from the initial geometry and then the instanced geometry, which would make this look really soft. And yeah, and then we're doing the same thing here with these rocks. So let me select these ones up here. So we have this, we have this. And again, we're distributing. The only difference with this one is that we're using the edges here, edge neighbors with the face count. We're saying, hey, these edges on the rim, we want a nice fall off. So we take that, we blur it, and very importantly, evaluate it. And then we use that to mix the density. So we mix the density from 0 to 1 based on that edge rim. one being the rim. And pretty simple, works pretty effectively. Another thing I'm going to update is right now when I'm offsetting our instances, it's actually doing the offset scale per point. I want it to do it as altogether. So rather than having this kind of jagged result here, or I just need to find a better way to do that, because it behaves pretty well on flat surfaces and if it's a flat object. But the moment I start including these kind of larger objects, these more jagged ones, they kind of degenerate. Not a big deal, but that's another future task. Okay, and that pretty much brings me to the end of this daily. I do want to get this environment into VRChat, but I think I'm going to have to set aside just one day of the week to do all that, because it's a little much to do that every day. I mean, sort of. Maybe I will do it today. No promises. Either way, the VRChat world link is below. The Gumroad link for this blend file if you want to play around with it, make your own versions. Send me some photos if you do. I'd love to see what you all make. That will be available on my Gumroad for download. You know the deal. And thank you again for taking a look. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye.